Good.
A couple of philosophy questions here.
Okay.
In 2018, K-State allowed nearly 5 yards to carry, its highest yards per carry in 8 years. It included 16 rushes of about 20-plus yards. In your mind, how do you improve the rushing defense?
You know, it's kind of what we're going through right now. We're trying to, as you start in a new conference, wherever you go and you transition, one of the things we do is we try to go through and just figure out, hey, let's take out the last 2 years against us, you know, what people do in a similar scheme, so we're 4 down. You know, what the new guys moving in do against that same thing, and then we're really building our defense off that. So to answer, I'm not totally sure 100% yet, but that's what we started doing the process yesterday, which was nice to finally get started doing that.
What was the process like for you to end up taking this job? You had a good job, of course, before this, and what all went into that?
You know, knowing Chris for a long time, you know, we had talked a little bit before and kind of went round and round, and you know, really it had to do more with family things. My mom lives in Denver. Okay. You know, I lost my dad a few years ago, so to be around her for that transition time was really helpful for her and for our family, so she could hang out with the kids and stuff like that. And I think it was like one of those things where, you know, we went back and left Jacksonville to go to Wyoming, and that was part of the reason. And she's doing really good right now, and hopefully we can bring out a bunch. So it's not too far away, right. So it was still good.
K-State last year also, it's 18 sacks in 2018, marked as fewest in more than 25 years. In your mind, what are the keys to being a good sacking team?
Well, you got to get guys that can rush, you know, and then try to get them to let them rush. You know, you got some stats there, man. No, I mean, some of it is taking your shots. Some of it is being ahead. I mean, you can't control situational football, and when teams are allowed and you're in tight games or you're playing from behind, those generally go hand in hand. You know, if you're not scoring on offense and you're not playing with the lead, it's generally harder to find times to get sacks because you can't put yourself in those passing situations. You know, I mean, I think that, and the first stat that you brought up would be hand in hand too. If you can't stop the run and you're in a situation where you're in 3rd and 3, well, you're not allowing your guys to rush the passer. And I think that those things together, if you can stop the run and you can get a lead on a team, or you can play ball control and keep the ball away, people panic, it gives you more opportunities to rush. So I think that's a little, that entails a lot of different things. I mean, you have to have the ability to rush with the players that you have, and I think we have some really good guys, watching them run around a little bit, and it also entails situations of the game. You know, and if you're behind or you're playing a close game, sometimes that's hard because teams just run the ball and you can't allow your guys to rush.
What kind of identity do you strive for all of your defenses to have?
You know, one thing that we've talked about, you know, and it was guys that taught it to me was when you put your tape on, you know, you'd really like to see 3 things. You'd like to see guys playing as hard as they can, you know, running the football, scrapping and get off blocks, fighting, and, you know, whatever they can to get to the ball. You know, then you would say, hey, that team's playing hard. Look at them guys play. You would say, hey, look how fast these guys are playing. It's like they know their job, and that's kind of our job. And the next part as we get closer to spring is, hey, let's start teaching them what we're supposed to do, how we'd like them to do it. We get in the spring ball, get a ton of reps at it so that they can play really fast and start to limit what, you know, slow the game down in their mind where they can start thinking about what the offense is doing so they play fast. And hopefully they're celebrating and having a great time. You know, when you watch it, you'd say, gosh, look at those guys. They play hard. They run to the ball. They do all that stuff. They play fast. And look at them celebrate. They really love playing together. You know, and that's what you want to see when you put on the tape.
When you have a defensive-minded head coach, what's the balance of meshing, you know, what's your defense and what's his philosophy that he really wants to implement there?
You know, the good news is with that is I've worked with Coach Klieman before. So for us it was, you know, when we talk through stuff, there's stuff that is very similar. You know, you talk about, hey, this is how we did it, and then he might give you an idea. And it's good because you can bounce ideas off of more guys. You know, the more brains you have working on a problem, the better, you know, hopefully the answer you get is. So, you know, so far it's been good. You know, in the limited time we've had to talk ball since recruiting's, you know, wound down. But it's good that way. Plus, as a defensive coach, you love it because generally the offense that you run is defensive friendly. You know, you're not going to try to run 100 snaps a game on offense. So as a defensive coach, sometimes it just even makes you look better just by slowing the game down.
My wife is sometimes critical of my beard. Can you give me some tips? And is beard oil part of that? Give me just some thoughts on it.
This is all just straight, you know, hey, let it go for a little while.
Okay.
And, so it's there's no secrets to it. Just don't get too old looking when you get
just
gray.
genes?
Yeah, I guess it's just genes. It can grow, you know.
How long have you had that bad boy?
You know, I shaved it, I don't know. I shaved it off one time a while, like Easter, I think, you know what I mean? I grow it. I don't know. It started a long time ago, and every once in a while I'll shave, and my wife will say you look ugly, so I grow it back. You know, so.
Got you another philosophy question.
Okay.
K-State's 11 interceptions last year, with the second fewest in a decade. How do you make a team better at intercepting the football?
Well, you know what? I think that all of those things go back to the same deal. Generally, when you can rush and you can disrupt the passer, he becomes uncomfortable. He forces throws. When he gets hit, he forces balls into coverage. I think that those are all things that happen. You know, just in my past, you know, I've been part of teams that get a lot of takeaways, and I've been given part of very few. And generally, those all go back to the same, stem from the same issue. If you can't stop the run, you can't get them off schedule, you can't rush, and when you can't rush, you can't get takeaways. And you know, you've been on both sides of that, you know, and so you'd say, okay, hey, if we can force some people into throwing, then you get them to rush, you hit the quarterback some, he comes uncomfortable, and you throw picks. So it's all, you know, all three of your questions are kind of in the same, that same area, that same mold.
You mentioned your prior relationship with Coach Klieman. Was there talks when he was fielding his initial staff about you potentially being that first defense coordinator?
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about that then. You know, I mean, it just didn't work out at that time, so it was, you know, one of those things that, you know, just with the whole family connection and all that kind of stuff, it just didn't seem right. But talking through everybody, that, you know, came right later, so it worked out right. God had a plan, and we just kind of worked the plan, and I'm excited to be here.
That's kind of what I was going with the next one. I mean, is that kind of the type of mindset maybe you took when it came open the second time, was maybe this is where I need to be going?
No doubt. I mean, I think that your life's a little bit controlled, you know what I mean, and you're not totally, and so it worked out right, and we had a long time to think about it by that point, you know, and that always generally clarifies things for you, you know, hey, this is meant to be, let's go, you know, so we're excited to be here now.
What are your first impressions on some of the guys, some of the players you inherited? I know you haven't spent a ton of time around them, but who's kind of jumping off the page?
Yeah, you know, I mean, we're banged up quite a bit. You know, that was my first thing. You know, there's some guys who are nicked up, you know, and really, like this morning, I've been to a couple runs, and you just kind of get the idea that, hey, we got some good athletes out there. You know, we got some young guys that need a little bit of work because they were out of shape and stuff like that. And then we went on the road recruiting, so I saw them like one day. And then I came back yesterday and this morning. We had a chance to watch them, and really I'm trying to learn names. You know, that's the first part of the whole process. And then B, you know, just trying to evaluate, hey, this guy, you can see him moving around. You know, like Daquan, hey, he's a guy that moves around really well, you know what I mean? Justin Hughes is a guy that works hard. You can see his effort and his commitment by just how he works out there. You know what I mean? So you start to go through those guys. Eli, I'm excited to see, but he's a little bit nicked up, but he was working through some things today. You know, I mean, you know, I'm just talking for the backers right now. But, you know, you just get some guys and you kind of go around and say, okay, you notice people and you say, hey, who's that guy? Who's that guy? You know what I mean? Why he sticks out. You know, there's some guys that really stick out. So I'm excited to get in there with them more and get a chance to know them. You know, I'd like to get a chance to know them one-on-one so we can start to learn about each other.
We've heard your name referenced a decent amount on the recruiting trail already. Who are some coaches here who have helped you kind of hit the ground running and help out with that so quickly?
It was one of those things that it was like, hey, you're going here and here and here. You know what I mean? I mean, I go wherever they just tell me. I don't even know where my recruiting area is yet. I mean, that's general for when you first take a job. You know, you're like, hey, here's a list of guys we need to see, and then I would just call back and say, where am I going tomorrow? And I don't even know where I'm at today. You know, hey, drive to this hotel. That's why they got Google Maps and stuff, right? I just follow my phone.
What areas in the past were you more comfortable or more often found yourself recruiting?
You know, I think it depends on where I've been. You know, I've been so many different places across the country that it's kind of, you know, I've been as big as broad areas, like you have everything east of Colorado, north of the Mason-Dixon line, and I've been like you have Wyoming. You know what I mean? So it's I can recruit pretty much anywhere. I have connections more Colorado West Coast, you know, a little bit in the South, but not as much as in the South. You know, upper Midwest, but that's, you know, wherever they put me, I'll go. You know what I mean? I know that there's some special connections with guys in Texas, and so that's why we hire guys from Texas, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Reading the stories, you're so energetic, and you make your players so energetic out there on the field. Where does that come from?
Geez, I don't know. I'm glad they wrote those stories, though. You know, I don't know. I think it's. I think that when you let guys play freely, you know, hopefully you teach them the basics of, hey, I need to do this. This is what I have to do. This is how I do it. Now go play, guys. It's your game. Go play and have fun, and let them do that on their own. I think that's that allows them to play a little bit more free and have fun. You know, I do love coaching. I love being out there ball. I think it's a big chess match, and getting guys to do things. It's a work of art for me, really. And so I get excited when I do it. I think I'm always calm and I'm always collected, but you know, they I guess, you know, other people say different things. So it's, you know, I don't know. It's enjoyable for me. So you hope they enjoy it too. You know.
Does third down conversion